Hi, and welcome to Hoffman's Hot Seat. I'm Tom Hoffman, coming to you from the Gartner Customer 360 Summit in Los Angeles. And I'm joined today by Erick Brethenoux, Executive Product Manager for IBM. And today, Erick and I will be talking about some of the changes that have occurred in the use of customer analytics over the past few years, and some new ways that companies are applying analytics nowadays. Erick, thanks so much for joining us.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
So maybe as a starting point, Erick, what do you see in terms of, say, how companies had been using customer analytics even a few years ago compared to how they're being applied now?
The main difference actually revolves around the experience of the customer, which has changed dramatically in the last 5 years. Even 5 years ago, people used to go and buy something and use it, maybe get some service, and then maybe buy something again from the same company. Well, that has changed dramatically right now. That cycle has changed completely, and the way organizations are using analytics to analyze that behavior is not completely aligned with that new experience anymore. So what you have now is that people research a product. You and I, before buying any piece of equipment, even small today, we go online and look for it, right?
Absolutely.
Look for what they do, and we take advice from people we never met in our lives, more than people that we have around us, and there are millions of those actually giving us advice. Then we want to buy something. Marketing before used to target us by pushing as much as they can at us, speaking very loudly and like screaming in our ears, try to convince us. Now they go on Bazillion, which is like a review site, and try to swing you when they see you down to 3 products, when you compare them together. They try to swing you that way. Very different from what they used to do before.
Interesting. So can you also talk about examples of how companies are applying analytics now that are much different than what we've seen in the past in terms of examining customer data and so forth?
Absolutely. So there are 2 ways that I can answer that question. The first one is in the kind of data that they are looking for. Because today we are instrumented. I have my phone that tells to someone every second what I do, what I have, where I am, how I'm moving, which direction I'm moving toward. So there's a time and space component to the data that didn't exist before. So now when they make a recommendation, I want to make a recommendation to you when you are like 50 feet away from that Starbucks store, not when you are 5 minutes later, 2 kilometers away, 2 miles away. And so in order to do that, you need to a kind of analytics that's going to be able to give you a recommendation, not for what you're going to need or what we think you're going to need, so the product you may buy, but when you're going to buy it and where you're going to buy it as well. So the kind of analytics associated with that kind of analysis is very different from what it used to be also. Very different.
Interesting. So can you also point to examples of companies that you feel have, really pushed the bar on this?
So I would pick the example of RTL Netherlands. They are the biggest TV channel in Holland, for example. And they have a show called X Factor, which is big like the American Idol, I think, is the show here in the US.
Right.
And what they've done is that they use text analytics to analyze the blogs and the comments of the viewers real time on what they're actually looking at the show. And what they've done, then they modify the programming and the content even of the show according to the comments that they got from the audience. So by analyzing the text, analyzing the trends into that text as well, they, for example, pick up that one of the participants was very low ranked and about to be eliminated, but the viewers loved him. And it's because he has his glasses and everything else. So they give advice to the guy to be able to actually pumping up and get the audience connected. The audience rating went up, which is a good ROI, return on investment measure, to see how it went up. It didn't win, but it went sufficiently far that many of the audience associated with that, and the show modified its own programming, taking that information into consideration. I think it's a good example of social media analysis with real return, which is what people look for.
Absolutely. Well, Erick, thanks so much for your time today. This has been great.
Most welcome. Thank you very much for having me.
Thanks.